A list of all the artists and music featured in this video are included in the credits at the very end of the video. That being said, please enjoy. What's up, nerd? You probably play TTRPGs like D&D, Pathfinder, or Lancer. That's all well and good, but if you're like me, you're looking for something new, something fresh. Well, my friend, today I've got the freshest game possible. I've got early access. You see, some college students in Burgerland, America emailed me the other day asking me to review their game for them. I said, okay, sure, what's the worst that can happen? And then I looked at the game itself. This game is broken, unbalanced, batshit insane, and one of the coolest TTRPGs I've ever played in a long time. So what is Spearcrest about exactly? What makes it special? Well, in my opinion, it's the fact that it not only allows you, but encourages you to come up with the most demented inventions of chaos and destruction using your magic. You know the story about the black hole arrow from D&D? Yeah, if you put one pocket dimension into another one, it creates a hole in space-time, so some lunatic decided to put that at the top of an arrow and shoot it at someone. Yeah, in Spearcrest, every class can pull stupid shit like that. Now, before we begin, I would like to proclaim that the developers of Spearcrest have officially reached out to me and asked me to review their game for them. I accepted because that's the coolest thing ever, but that doesn't mean I won't have my criticisms of the game because, wow, there's a few things wrong with this game. But it is early access and can be improved as time goes on. But I'm still gonna talk about the stuff that annoyed me though. So, without further ado, let's discuss the lore. At the center of all creation, there is the spindle. Around the spindle spins the universes of creation. These universes hang in a cosmic balance of order, chaos, and oblivion. But you can ignore all that for now because our story takes place in a universe not much different to our own on a planet called Spearcrest. A narratively appropriate fuck-ton amount of years ago, there was an ancient species of weird-looking dudes called the progenitors. They mastered the art of magic, and with it, they built a magical utopia. There was just one problem. They were too magical. You see, when a creature in Spearcrest uses magic, they draw from the power of pure chaos, and using too much magic can cause some side effects. In-game, this is called mana burn. If a mage experiences too much mana burn, they undergo Fey mutation. They become a Fey, an uber-destructive monster of limitless magical power that completely loses its mind over a singular obsession that it will chase throughout the rest of its immortal life. Fun! The Fey are insectoid creatures of pure magic. They are unfortunate souls that try to push their magical abilities too far. The progenitors, being as magical as they are, struggled a lot with Fey mutation. They developed a curse to try and counter their curse, called the Shot-Solid Curse. This curse would mutate their Fey bodies back to normal if they ever went fairy mode. Documented progenitor history ends here. The only other accounts we know of speak of some interdimensional war that caused great losses to both progenitors and the attackers, something about fox people, it's a whole thing, don't worry about it too much. The progenitors are gone. With no more progenitors to keep the mutation curse in check, it spread to the various ancient creatures of Spearcrest, causing strange and wild mutations. These are the Shot-Solids, or Full Souls. They are the sentient species of Spearcrest. Full Souls contain a spark of magic, a little bit of chaos. Most go about their lives without ever noticing. Most believe themselves just to be as mundane as the ground they walk on. But others decide to look deeper, to try and unlock the secrets of their soul and the magic it possesses. These individuals become mages. Becoming a mage is a lengthy process, taking much dedication and effort. Magic is something like electricity and radiation, dangerous, uncontrollable, but if channeled and redirected, it can be used to make wonders. To effectively channel magic, mages must change and adapt their bodies and ways of thinking and seeing the world. Learning magic takes a toll on the mage, but once they've adapted to the chosen path of magic, it becomes second nature to them. requiring little to no effort. But this also means there's no turning back from becoming a mage. Once they've chosen a path of magic, their bodies and minds have been changed greatly. There are only a few select ways to change your path of magic or remove it entirely. In Spearcrest, you play as a mage that has already settled into their chosen path of magic. You already have all the skills of your path at your disposal. Your only limits are your knowledge on how to use those skills and the materials required for your magic. Being a mage comes with a great many benefits, and many more drawbacks. You run the risk of losing yourself and becoming a destructive fae, ridden with madness. The angels of above deem you unnatural and wish to strip you of your power. The demons of below wish to use your power for themselves. And the more you learn about the universe, the more you learn that it's not as safe as you first thought it was, especially for someone like you. But who cares about that? Let's talk about the... Now we get to the good stuff. Spearcrest has 9 playable paths of magic. Each of them have 9 subpaths each. That means there's 81 total playstyles in the game. 81 playstyles. I can't do all of them. The video would take years to make. I would never.
Coward. You make me sick. Leave me alone. Please.
Okay, I will cover all 9 of the magic paths, but because Spearcrest is still being updated, I'm not going to go into too much mechanical detail. And I'll only be doing 3 subpaths for each path because I need to get the video done. Please forgive me.
Coward.
First up is casting. Casters use the elements of the world around them. They absorb and reconstruct them into powerful spells. From a gameplay standpoint, casters are the easiest class to learn, but you are not limited in your creativity because of that. Casting gameplay revolves around 4 things: matter deconstruction, casting relays, element recombination, and element casting. Casters can disintegrate any object of a certain size with their matter deconstruction ability. These objects are then split into 6 base elements: fire, air, earth, water, mind, and magic. These elements are then stored in the caster's relay. Relays are specialized crystals that store elements. Different relays may have different properties, but their primary function is to store elements, which the caster can then combine. Different elements combine to form different matter, like water and air becomes ice, fire and air becomes lightning, etc. All the combinations are in the book. Note that you cannot permanently store elements. They fade away over the days, like these things. Then finally, the casters can orient their relay to prime the element they want to fire, and voila, boom, you've cast a spell. Casters may seem simple, but they can pull off some truly wild shit. These are the 3 subpaths that I would like to highlight for casting. Blast casting. Blast casting says no to all that expensive relay stuff and allows you to just cast a spell then and there. You can disintegrate an object immediately and then blast it from there. You swipe your hand through a campfire and blast him with a fireball. Simple as. Lock casting is when you decide to say, fuck it, I'm gonna make those small little Jedi robots blast the elements for me. You load them up with some pre-programmed shoot a fireball at anyone who annoys me, and congrats, you have a little drone army now. And flask casting. Tired of your elements fading away into nothingness? Introducing stasis fluid. Just put the stasis fluid and your element of choice in a flask and presto, you've got lightning in a bottle. Mix and match your element potions for crazy effects and presto. Have fun. Next up is Enchantment. Enchanters are the masters of metal and magic. They can manipulate materials and mold it into their liking. Playing an enchanter is simple. As an enchanter, you have access to abilities called spot enchantments. These are tiny miracles of magic that you can perform on most materials to change their state, such as form, bend, heat, extrude, etc. If you change a material enough times with your spot enchantments, you can turn it into a magical weapon or a magical piece of armor. Any armor or weapons you make has random magical effects that range from amazing to terrible, depending on if you got the recipe for the sword just right. All the enchanter's other abilities add on to this one. Alloying allows you to merge created items to cancel out negative and positive effects to more neutral ones. Honing is when you refine your crafted items to better states, and affixments are additional bullshit that you can add onto your already crazy stuff, because everything could use spikes. The 3 recommended subpaths for enchantment are Ferromancy, where you can become metal venom, or that one Iron Man from the comics. resonance, where you can use vibrations to do your magic from distance, and ether forging, where you can say, fuck it. You see this fire? It's my sword now. Corpeturgy, or Corpeturgy. I don't exactly know how to pronounce it. I'm just going to call it Corpeturgy from now on. Corpeturgy is the study of your own body and utilizing the mana within and around you to enhance your own strength. Corpeturges... Now I said Corpeturges are the martial fighters of Spearcrest. They're a mixture of barbarian and monk from D&D. With their abilities and multiple different fighting forms, these guys dominate the battlefield. Corpeturgy grants you the ability to dodge projectiles, block incoming damage with your bare arms, and enter a rage mode before you die. Change the material makeup of your body, and finally your main ability, Soul Doors. Soul Doors are 9 gates in your body that you can channel magic through. The gates being head, chest, back, heart, stomach, right arm, right leg, left leg. You have 5 different types of mana you can use: Force, Lightning, Mana Burn, Madness, and Frost, that you can channel through these gates. You choose one of these 3 types to channel through 3 doors. Once all 3 doors are channeled, you activate the form and gain its effects. There are 12 different forms, each of them with a unique effect for the 5 different mana types. Anyways, have fun reading through that. I'm not listing them here. The recommended subpaths are Report. You can choose a favorite weapon and you can do cool shit with it. Ebbing. And Barbarism. You just become the barbarian from D&D. Next, Inscryption. Oh boy, here we go. Inscryption mages study the fundamental building blocks of the universe, and they have invented a language that can alter and change said building blocks with runes. Basically, they're magical programmers. Inscryption mages are one of the most versatile mages, and the bane of my existence as a GM. Inscryption mages technically only have one ability, rune carving. There exists a rune for every word in the English language. That is a line in the book, yes. You carve a rune onto a surface, place your hand on the rune to activate it, and it causes an effect. Yippee! Writing frost on a stone will cause it to become frosty, writing fire on wood will cause it to ignite, etc. But it's everything you can do with this ability that makes this path special. You can chain runes together for bigger and more complicated effects. These are called sigils. Like fire bomb will turn a rock into a fire bomb, or frost bomb, or any other words you can think of. Then you can also bind sigils. Binding sigils to your brain allows you to activate them at will from range. The only shtick is that if you do this too much, the rune becomes imprinted on your body and activates automatically whenever you activate any other bound sigil. The reason why I don't like this path as a GM is that the book has no real examples of what words can mean and what they can cause what to happen. The book also doesn't say what runes you know and what you don't. I asked the devs and they said like you can start out with 10 and learn more, but as of the making of this video, the book does not specify. Also, because there are no examples in the book, it has to be a discussion between the player and the GM what the ending effect of a rune would be. This is usually fine. I'm for cooperative storytelling and mechanics and whatnot. But how am I supposed to convince my player that my judgment is fair, or what the true effect of his testicular torsion rune would be? Because it doesn't say anything in the book. Anyways, this might just be a me thing, so if you grasp Inscryption well enough, well done, you beat me. Please leave a comment on how it works. The subpaths include Grimoire, it's just magic logic gates. If you see me, then no you don't. This is a real example, by the way. Regomancy, you can just do what Odin did to Thor's hammer, just literally anything. Whomever shall wear this armor shall resist all flames, etc., etc. And Command. Totemancy. Totemancies dabble in the world of spirits, summoning them and empowering them with their magic so that they can affect the physical world. Totemancies use totems filled with dead animal parts to attract the spirits closely tied to said animals. Bug guts for bug spirits, reptile guts for reptile spirits, etc. They then use charms to fully summon and empower the spirits. Charms change and direct a spirit's effect, for example, what it targets, like you or an ally, or an area of effect. Then, once summoned and channeled, the spirit gives different benefits or drawbacks, depending on the spirit, of course. If your charm breaks, you have a chance of being possessed by the spirit, and that's usually not what you want. The 3 recommended subpaths are Golemancy, it's what it says on the tin, you can make golems now. Conjuration, you can make ghost fire that force spirits, demons, and ghosts to stop relying on that incorporealness thing they got going on and put them dukes up, or you can control them, that's an option too. And Fold Calling, where you can decide to say you're getting turned into soul material. Congrats, you can now make armor out of literal souls. Incantation. Incantation is all about demons. Summoning demons, talking to demons, controlling demons to the best of your abilities. The works. Before we talk about how to play an incantation mage, we have to talk about the demons. Demons are from another dimension. Big shocker. We don't exactly know where they come from. If you ask them, not even they know. But they're kind of spread out through all the realms like a roach infestation. But they do have 9 circle-shaped dimensions where they especially hang out, and most of the time. They eat souls. They fucking love them, man. Short-solid souls are their favorite, and mage souls are like fucking crack to them. They love us. The more horns a demon has, the older and stronger they are. So if you run into this guy, you might be able to trick him into your service with a rigged game of rock, paper, scissors. But if you run into this guy, just don't even think about it. Just go move away and put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. Some demons are just mindless monsters, but others are smart. Very smart. But all of them are super impulsive. So impulsive, in fact, that they lack the cognitive ability and foresight to lie. Yes, all demons, even the smart ones, cannot lie. They live strictly in the moment and will twist their words in ways that will always get them the better deal out of the bargain, even if they can't lie. Now, why do they do all this? Why do they destroy lives and eat souls? First, 1, souls are tasty. 2, because it's funny. They really find it funny. Incantation mages have 3 main abilities. Summoning rituals, which they draw a funny symbol on the ground or on another surface and drop a bit or a lot of their own blood, say some funny words, and then boom, a demon pops out. Different rituals means different demons, you get the picture. Vows are chosen and put into effect while the demon is being summoned. The vow is what keeps the demon in check and binds them to your soul. While attaching a leech to your body does allow you to control where the leech goes, it does not stop the fact that there is, in fact, a leech on your body. So the demon does get stronger from this vow and you get weaker. Rituals are cast on any demons, summoned by you or not. This includes stuff like giving them a list of things they're not allowed to do, controlling a demon directly, exorcising a demon out of your or someone else's body, or banishing them back to the plane where they belong, and more. The 3 recommended subpaths include Pledging, go full warlock and serve a dark lord for some fucking awesome benefits. Maleficium, be the reason why someone gets possessed by a demon today. And Mutation, you just get demon body and become Havoc from Mortal Kombat. That I don't know what else to tell you, man. Next up, Antimagic. Anti-mages says nah to all that magic nonsense, and they use a specialized substance called, you guessed it, anti-magic to absorb magic and punch wizards. Anti-mages have one key ability, their anti-magic shard. Any mage that sticks an anti-magic shard in their body can become an anti-mage, but only those who've been with their shard for a very long time are considered true anti-mages. The Antimagic shard is a golden yellow crystal that absorbs all magic it comes into contact with. The more magic it absorbs, the bigger it gets. And eventually, you can do all sorts of stuff with it. You can carve it into a weapon or armor made out of pure anti-magic, you can embed the crystal into your body to become stronger, or you can break off a piece to create another anti-magic shard. The possibilities are plentiful. The 3 recommended subpaths for anti-magic are Warding, where you can create wards with anti-magic shards that says fuck you to a specific magic type that you especially do not like. Tired of beam attacks? Just make a beam ward. Get fucked, Goku. Catastrophism. It's just magic Pokeballs. You catch a magic effect in an anti-magic ball and throw it back at an enemy. And Stone Skin. I feel like I've made this joke before. Next up, Scrying. It's just being the Kwisatz Haderach from Dune. Okay, jokes aside, Scrying mages use salts and astral projection to observe and alter people's minds and the flow of time. Their abilities include astral projection, the means by which they use their time and mind abilities, salt brewing, go full Breaking Bad, and imbibing in salts, breaking the one rule from Breaking Bad. Don't feel bad about it, drugs do give you superpowers. There are too many salts to list off, but there are 3 categories of salts. Carnomancy salts, which alter your body, psychomancy salts, which allows you to alter and observe your and other people's minds, and gillomancy salts, the stuff that lets you mess with time. Just don't overdose because you can go into time seizure. This is a real mechanic. The recommended subpaths are Tempest, you can just pull a bedman from Strive and do this. Glamour, which allows you to do some illusions and trickery, and Apothecary.
Hello, potion seller. I am going into battle, and I want your strongest potions. My potions are too strong for you, traveler.
And finally, Thaumaturgy. Thaumaturges are the masters of astral projection and can alter the flow of mana around them through interacting with ley lines. Thaumaturges, like Scrying mages, have the ability to astral project, but they rely on it far more than Scrying mages do. Because while astral projecting, they can interact with ley lines. There are 9 ley lines that are all neutrally charged. They are in balance. What Thaumaturges can do is take some charge from one line and give it to another, overcharging one line and undercharging another. These cause all sorts of positive and negative effects that increase with severity the more it's undercharged or overcharged. As a Thaumaturge, you cause all sorts of magical chaos to aid you in battle or in any situation. Now, I hear you thinking, but hey, if you can only change ley lines while astral projecting, doesn't that make them useless? Thank you for your input, Strawman, but you didn't let me finish. Their last ability remedies this. Yeah, the last ability is literally called Astral Domain, where you can make a small area around you where you can manipulate the ley lines while in physical form. The recommended subpaths are Possession. You can just possess objects and people. Electromancy, where you can manipulate electricity so finely it's like JoJo stand nonsense. Oh, and also... And then Nihilomancy, or Nihilomancy. Mechanically, you're just the Spot from Spider-Man. It's actually really cool. You can do some amazing shit. You can even duplicate objects temporarily by creating multiple exits for one portal. Just don't clone yourself, because you don't want to know what lives in the nowhere place. Whew, we're done with that. Okay, next up, character creation. We're finally here. Please enjoy the step-by-step guide to making a character for Spearcrest, and as always, I will be building an example character. Step 0, let's take a look at your character sheet first. Yeah, the character sheet doesn't look, stellar, but it's an indie TTRPG, what do you expect? You will notice that you have 6 stats in Spearcrest. Strength, self-explanatory. Agility, also pretty self-explanatory. Resistance affects your health and how much punishment your body can take, it's just constitution. Knowledge, book smarts, problem solving, skills, etc., it's just intelligence. Discerning, it's just wisdom, deducing new information, how good you are at acquiring information, and finally, charisma, you know what this is. As of the making of this video, when you create a fresh character in Spearcrest, all your stats start at 10. Other things in the character creation process can increase them, but the thing is, there is no leveling system in Spearcrest. Yes, you already have access to all of your abilities from the beginning. Your only limit is just, if you have the materials to cast the certain spell or not. The way you increase your stats then is by using them in-game. For every few checks that you succeed at in a skill, you gain a level in that skill. Every 5 or 10 levels, you unlock a new ability in that skill, with currently no limit. To be fair, you don't gain levels from automatic successes if your stat is high enough, so you can't really cheese it. But now, step 1, choose a background. A background is what gives context to a character, their old profession or just what they're good at. Each background gives you 2 skill points in specified abilities, and an additional 3 skill points to allocate wherever you want, and an amount of money that you can use to buy starting equipment with. Step 2, choose a race. Ah, shit, we haven't covered the races yet. Okay, let's speedrun them. The 5 different human types, we've got Benluvians, magic mountain folk, Sembolians, battle-hardened warriors, the the Akrekans, who are a lot more resistant to elemental damage, the Ulate, people with conductive bones that can conduct electricity and also only eat meat, and the Ifrital. They have glowing tattoos. Yeah, no, they can't turn it off. That's it. Yeah, I don't know either, man. Next up, we have the generic fantasy races that you might recognize. Sylvans, they're just elves. Dolvir, they're just dwarves. Haventu, they're halflings. Frox are goblins. Beastmen are beastmen. And Shabtari are the robots, who can't do magic. In the game about mages, what's that? You want more specific animals than beastmen? Furry? Yeah, Spearcrest got you covered. We got deer people, goat people, bird people, fish people, were people, pangolin people, and possum people that have spiky quills. And we have some original faces too. We've got the Druden, which are magic folk with skin made out of metal. The Hanjara, just people made out of rock and stone. And the Truck, who turn into rock and stone if they stand in the sun for too long. Do you want to concern your friends? How about the Cursed, literal dead people? Or the Fomorians, hulking monsters in bolted diving suits from the unfathomable depths of the ocean? They're pretty chill, they just look scary. Do you want to really concern your friends and the GM? Well, we have Cambions, Zephiel, and the Demi-Fae. They're not half-breeds, just people with 0.5% of the power stemming from the most destructive forces of the spindle in their blood. Frightening! Each race gives you some starting equipment that you don't need to buy, an ability specific to that race, and an amount of food that they need to consume each day. Step 3, equipment. There is a lot of equipment in Spearcrest. Armor, weapons, tools, and spell components. Actually, those are the only 4 categories, but there's a lot in those categories. I'm not listing all of them because I am a mentally sound individual, but I will tell you what to look out for. Each weapon has different ranges, damages, and other properties. Weapons come in 5 categories: finesse, heavy, polearms, ranged, and shields. Finesse are smaller, mostly one-handed weapons. Heavy are larger, usually two-handed weapons, that require some strength to wield. Polearms are taller weapons with longer reach. And ranged weapons cost more time to use and have a chance of missing, but they do a lot more damage. And shields are shields. It allows you to block hits and bash people. You know the drill. Next up is armor. In Spearcrest, an enemy can target 4 parts of you: your head, body, arms, and legs. And armor reduces incoming slashing, piercing, and bludgeoning damage by a certain amount. In the book, this is called the armor's SPB value. Now, your body, just naked, does have default SPB values, but they're usually not that great compared to the armor. Different helmets do different things. Armor that's heavy reduces your agility. You get the idea. Tools and supplies, yeah, you get the point. And then path equipment. At the end of the book, there should be a helpful list of things that you might need for your magic path. You might not start with all of these things from the get-go, but you should keep a lookout for them in the wild. Step 4, choose your magic path. We've been through this. Step 5, choose your magic subpath. We've been through this. And ta-da! Your character is officially ready for the world of Spearcrest. Good luck out there. You're gonna need it. The next part of the video will be an in-depth explanation of the combat of Spearcrest. It might get a little long and a little boring, so if you don't have the patience or time for that, you can skip over to the review section, where I give my final thoughts of Spearcrest before ending the video. And if you're already interested in playing, I will also be listing where you can get your hands on Spearcrest in the credits right after the review. You should be able to find it using the video chapters. The best way to learn is to play. Unfortunately, you cannot play it right now, so the second best way to learn is to watch someone else play it. Spearcrest is split into 2 modes of play, narrative and combat. Narrative is looser, and I'm assuming you already play D&D or Pathfinder with friends, so you know how the story goes. Ability checks and all that, that's a thing here. The book will tell you more. But the real shit starts in combat. So let's take a look at an example combat scenario, shall we? Spearcrest's combat is played on a square grid, each square representing 5 feet in the game world. Let's meet our enemies, the Gel. Goblin shark dickheads who are basically Spearcrest stand-in for goblins, where it is morally correct to kick the shit out of them because they do evil shit and want to eat you. Now let's meet our players. Baggy, you already met her. Ibuto, a Symbolian barbarism Corpeturgy who specializes in melee combat and soaking up damage. And Jophiel, we just call him Jeff, the Zephiel Etherforge enchanter, who focuses on ranged combat. Alright, we have our players and we have our enemies. Let's begin combat. First off, everyone rolls initiative. Yeah, I know, but it's not exactly the same as D&D. Every initiative slot counts as 1 second. That makes rounds 20 seconds. Here we have our example initiatives. Ibuto goes first. What can Ibuto do? Well, depends on his AP. AP, or action points, is your lifeblood in Spearcrest. Everything, and I really do mean everything, costs AP. A character's default AP is 20, but AP also scales off of agility, but it can also scale off of strength or durability if your strength or durability will give you higher AP. Ibuto is a barbarism mage, so he immediately spends 5 AP to go berserk. The berserk ability does the following. It heals him on activation. Any magical effect that isn't demonic gets neutralized. While berserking, Ibuto gains immunity to madness, suffocation, and exhaustion. Aside from those sources, he still takes damage as normal, but he stores the damage he takes as points. He can then use those points to do different abilities. Damaging abilities, healing himself, etc. The downside of the berserk ability is that he cannot gain any advantage from any source, and he falls unconscious and takes 2 levels of exhaustion when the berserk state ends. The berserk state lasts until he reaches a quarter of his max HP, or doesn't attack anything for 20 seconds, or if he takes a hit from an attack that does 10 or more shattering damage. That's anti-magic damage. So Ibuto goes berserk. Then he spends his AP to move toward Gel number 2 over here. To move, it is 1 AP for 1 square of movement. But if you move more than 3 squares, your movement increases to 2 squares per AP. This is because you're breaking into a sprint. So Ibuto moves 1, 2, 3 for 3 AP and 2 more squares for 1 AP, spending 4 AP to get to this Gel. All movement counts as 1 action. Now Ibuto can theoretically do more here on his turn, but that would not necessarily be very strategic. He wants to save his AP, and he gets benefits if he gets damaged, so here's what happens. After he finishes his turn, the off turn starts. After every creature's turn, there is an off turn. This combat mechanic allows for reactive combat, and most importantly, combos. In the off turn, everyone can spend an increased amount of AP to do an amount of actions equal to the amount of actions taken by the current turn holder. In this case, Ibuto took the berserk action and the move action. Everyone, including him, can take 2 actions in the off turn. The order of actions in the off turn is not specified. It comes down to player and GM agreement mostly. But the general rule is to be reactive and follow through with events. Whoever is responding to the action gets preference over people just doing their own thing. For example, the Gel here gets immediate preference because a humongous man is charging toward him with murderous intent. So the Gel decides to spend 9 AP and one of his off-turn actions to hit Ibuto with his mace. It usually would have cost 7 AP, but off-turn action costs an additional 2 AP to do. This is called the off-turn penalty. His melee attack will work the exact same way as player melee attacks, so we'll describe that here. Melee in Spearcrest is seamless. Instead of rolling to see if you hit, you instead roll to see where you hit. Head, body, arms, or legs. You are rolling on an enemy's target range table. Different creatures have different target ranges, but the target range for a standard humanoid or Shotzelid is head 20 to 18, body 17 to 11, arms 10 to 6, and legs 9 to 1. If you roll higher than any part you wanted to hit, you can automatically hit that part. The Gel rolls a 12, so he hits Ibuto's body and deals 9 points of bludgeoning damage. Since Ibuto is being attacked, he can technically dodge, block, or hit back with one of his off-turn actions, but that would cost more AP than what it's worth, and he wants to take some damage, so he decides not to do anything. Ibuto gets hit, but not by the full force of the attack. This is where SPB values come in. Remember those? Yeah. 3 numbers representing your physical defense against a physical damage type. Ibuto's body has an SPB value of 287. SPB values can change based on what type of armor you're wearing or based on different stats. This is just Ibuto's muscles doing all the work. So the 9 damage is reduced to 1 point of damage. Ibuto has a 16 in resistance, so he has 53 HP, so this means nothing to him. But as a barbarian, he still stores the 9 damage points. The Gale have no fear of expending a lot of their AP here because their turn is next. On your turn, you regain all your spent AP. This is important to remember because when your AP drops to 0, you gain the vulnerable status effect. The vulnerable status effect reduces your SPB values to 0. Plus, you'll have no AP to do off-turn actions until your turn again, so generally you don't want to spend all your AP unless you know your turn is next. Be careful not to live your life on the edge though, because if you expend all your AP 3 rounds in a row, your AP is halved until you can sleep again. Regardless, let's move to the others. Baggy sees that the Gel are probably going to use their turn to lay into Ibuto, and Ibuto is most likely going to use his off-turn to retaliate. She decides to cook up a plan for a combo. Baggy is a blast caster, so she relies on her environment to be filled with all sorts of stuff to blast. Unfortunately, there is not much in this example White Void to use, so she decides to instead help Jeff to do some real damage on his upcoming turn. Baggy takes out the water flask she's carrying. This isn't an action specified in the book, but AP values for actions can be hand-waved as well. Actions cannot be less than 1 AP unless specified. Some GMs might rule this as a free item interaction that won't cost AP, but just to keep the flow rolling, we'll say that this is just a 1 AP plus another 2 for the off-turn penalty action to take her water flask out. Then, using her last off-turn action, she spends AP to create a Frost Blast and shoot it at Jeff. Jeff is an Ether Forger. He can solidify energy states to create anything he wants. Jeff spends 6 AP to catch the Frostbolt and solidify it. He technically has 1 off-turn action left, but he really doesn't need to take it if he doesn't want to. AP is precious after all. Now, everyone has spent their off-turn actions, so we immediately move to the next turn in the initiative. That would be the Gel. The Gel gain all their AP back and use it to just beat the shit out of Ibuto. In this example, we're going to use Horde combat rules, so the Gel have a combined AP pool, and they're going to use it to do a total of 7 actions of just, hitting him. Now, technically, Ibuto does have off-turn preference here, but, I need to teach you everything, so for this example, we're just going to move to Jeff's off-turn action. Jeff goes ahead and acts. Normally, forging an arrow mid-combat would be very costly and inefficient, but because Jeff is an Ether Forger, all spot enchantments only cost 1 AP for solidified energy. And even better, he already knows how to make a perfect Botkin arrow, the arrow that does the most damage. So he spends 6 AP. Heat, Form, Extrude, Form, Shape, Cool, Perfect. The arrow gains 3 random positive effects. He rolls on the table to see what he gets. Marksmanship, plus 1d4 to hit. Force, 1 additional damage die. And Magical, 2 extra effects. The 2 magical effects are Cleave, adjacent targets take half the damage, and Brutality. If the weapon deals max damage or kills the target, the other enemies become intimidated. And Jeff is not done yet. Energy weapons have 25 uses before they break, but since he's only planning on using this arrow once, he condenses the energy in the arrow, taking away 15 uses out of it, but giving it another magical effect. This time, it's heating, plus 1d4 fire damage. Jeff forgot all his good arrows at home, so Baggy allowed Jeff to create a very powerful arrow out of nowhere in 1 round. And trust me, this is one of the more tame combos that you can do. It's Jeff's turn now, and he's going to use the super arrow that he just made right at that Gel. So, let's talk about ranged combat. Ranged combat is just a little different to melee combat. To hit with a ranged weapon, you need to hit a targeting roll of 14. Jeff has to spend 1 AP to knock an arrow, and 4 AP to draw it. Now he can fire. Luckily firing is 0 AP, but if he wants to, he can spend 3 AP to aim, lowering the targeting DC to a 12, and can't hit an unintended target, 6 AP to steady to give him +4 to hit, and 2 AP to wink that gives him a final +2. Wink can only be used right before firing. Then, when you fire, and if the targeting roll succeeds, then you roll to see where you hit. Jeff has a longbow. Longbows are big and heavy, so he adds +2 to the AP cost of his ranged actions, but he adds +6 to the damage because it's a big bow. The longbow has 3 effective ranges. Every weapon has an effective range. It means that you can target any creature within this range, not before or not after. The longbow has 3 of these. Other ranges can be reached by taking the draw action again and again. Jeff takes all the AP he needs, cause there's no way out of this one for the Gel. D20 +4 +2 +1d4, natural 20, that's a 30 to hit. This is a good time to mention that, as of making this video, there are no critical hit rules or natural 20 rules for Spearcrest, but there is critical injuries, which we'll get to later. So the arrow hits, 2d8 +6 frost damage, and 1d4 fire damage. The Gel, fruitlessly, tries to dodge this. There's not a very good chance that he'll dodge this one, but I have to teach you everything, so let me explain dodging. The dodge action is an off-turn exclusive action that you can only take when someone attacks you, and it doesn't count toward the amount of off-turn actions that you can use. The Gel spends 5 AP to dodge. This allows him to roll a d20, and if he gets a higher roll than the targeting roll, he dodges the attack. He will not get this roll. Okay, we gotta talk about what happens to the Gel now. In Spearcrest, damage types aren't just fancy names for damage, they actually do specific things. In this case, frost damage reduces the target's SPB values by half the damage dealt. Their SPB values are not that high to begin with, so they'll just be reduced to 0. It can't go into the negatives. And if frost damage exceeds 10, in this case it does, they gain a level of exhaustion, if that mattered. And fire, if it does more than 8 damage, it sets them on fire. In this case, it doesn't. Now, 2 out of the 3 Gel are down, because I need them to be for this example. The remaining Gel has survived, but has taken a critical injury. You get a critical injury if you take more than half of your max HP's worth of damage in one attack. Critical injuries include, but are not limited to, amputation, concussion, seizure, infection, burning, etc. Let's just say that the Gel is missing his arm. It is now Baggy's turn, but she skips it because she's got nothing. Ibuto will deliver the finishing blow.
No! No! No!
Here is where we talk about our last mechanic, inertia. It's a bit complicated, but in very simplified terms, in Spearcrest there are 2 types of movement, intentional and unintentional. Intentional is just that, spending AP to move. Unintentional is when something forces you or an object to move. And when a moving object collides with something, it deals 1 damage per 1 foot that it traveled during forced movement. Ibuto is falling 20 feet. Falling counts as forced movement, and will deal 20 blunt damage on impact. Inertia is going to be your go-to when making stupid railgun tactics in Spearcrest, so learn the rule well. There's a lot more to it, and I'm not explaining all of it here. So, after nearly half a year of studying the game, talking to the devs, and testing it out exactly once, what are my thoughts on Spearcrest? Should you try it out? I mean, probably. It's like free, so I don't see why not. Okay, to go a little more in detail and to elaborate, I think the world building is fucking awesome. Some of the actual coolest fantasy setting writing I've seen in a very long time. It's familiar enough to get into if you're, used to D&D and Pathfinder, but it's also monumentally unique in its flair. The Fae being mages that push themselves too far, the demons having more horns the more powerful they are is just phenomenal character design. And I didn't even cover the angels, but they're these divine constructs of unknowable power that hate mages and magic. Some of them malfunction and go rogue. Just the classes themselves, all of them are based off of real historical magic practices, and that lends them incredible flavor. Just by creating characters in the base game of Spearcrest, you already have incredible world building to work on. Which is why it is such a damn shame that the game is so unpolished. A lot of the class's abilities are undefined and unspecified. Inscryption the most. We were using the 3rd edition of the rulebook of Spearcrest, and its formatting sucks. It sucks real bad. The columns are difficult and hard to read. The mechanics and lore are not separated in the book, which would be fine if there wasn't just so fucking much of it. There's so much in this game. Seriously, the Mage's Manual is 364 pages long. You will forget sometimes that this game is made by 2 college students. But you'll quickly be reminded by the various inside jokes and references and pieces of flavor text scattered across the book, which would be really cute if it wasn't for the fact that you probably found them while looking for an answer to a question you had that the book actually never answers for you yet. The game will confuse you. You'll be astonished at the amount of content and options, and then be blindsided by the lack of specificity and professionalism. You'll love the unique character options, and then feel weirded out by the fact that they tied the human-like race's appearances to real-life ethnicities. I spoke to the devs about this, by the way. They should be fixing it in the next version of the book. You'll love the idea of the reactive combat, and then you'll have to fumble around for a few hours before getting the hang of it because you either couldn't read the book or you didn't understand it. Don't worry, we didn't either. The game is super unpolished, to put it lightly. Too many rules are either absent or hand-waved, and characters feel either absolutely useless or godlike and super overpowered. But if you're willing to look past all that, and if you're crazy enough, if you're willing to embrace it, there will be a point in Spearcrest where all the things that it is intended to be lines up and starts working right, and you have an incredible game that you're playing. A game where you can pull stupidly fun combos, Jujutsu Kaisen levels of big brain plays and jumping, with super creative and intuitive combat that, when it works right, feels like you are unraveling the fabric of reality to punt a supersonic goblin shark at the face of some insane fairy or tyrant. And it's my hope that this video will shed some light on it so that more people can try it out and give feedback to the devs so that they can polish it even more, and hopefully it will become a real thing. Should you try it out if you're new to tabletop RPGs? Probably not. It's really hard to get into in its current state. I tried my best to make things easier with this video, but if the devs don't update the formatting of the book, it's gonna be a little bit of a time investment. But if you're looking for something new and you're willing to brave the world of unpolished, janky, indie TTRPGs, try it out. Go in expecting the jank, but know that with all that is an incredibly new and unique experience with incredible storytelling and lore that is worth checking out if you have the time. Hello, if you've made it this far into the video, I sincerely congratulate you. Not many people can sit through the ramblings of an ADHD-fueled nerd talking about something they've never heard of. Welcome to the credits, where I list off all the talented people who put their work on the internet so that I could shamelessly repurpose it for a game review. Oh, and also where you can get your hands on Spearcrest. As of the making of this video, the game is not listed commercially anywhere, but the developers do have a Discord where you can get your hands on the current version of the Mage's Manual, which acts as the rulebook for Spearcrest. The link to said Discord should be in the description of the video. And what you see right now are the list of the artists who have had their work featured in this video. Most will be mentioned in text, but I would like to explicitly mention a Shipwright, a South Korean artist on ArtStation that made all of these incredible artworks in this video. They have no affiliation with me or Spearcrest, but it is of my opinion that their art was the best visual representation for the vibe and the mechanics of Spearcrest. If you like their work, please go check them out and give them money. It's tough for artists like them out there. I can only hope that I understand fair use policy correctly, otherwise this entire video is cooked and I am fucked. And last but certainly not least, thank you. YouTube is a side hustle for me, and it's making college funds a little bit easier to manage. I can't always rely on the algorithm to help me, so what you can do is like the video if you did, comment about how my editing is banger or sucks depending on what you think, share it with your friends if you think that they'll find the video funny or interesting, and subscribe if you want YouTube to let you know when I upload again within the next 2 years. And hey, if the video does well, the wait might be a little bit shorter. That is all for now. The worm in my brain is finally satisfied and letting me rest. Cheers.